Hi guys, I'm Mike.
And I'm Stephen.
And this is F1 Fanatics. Welcome back to another one of these kind of special driver videos of kind of looking at their career so far. Obviously yesterday we had Lando Norris, or Last Lap Lando, the story so far. Today we have George Russell. Just the facts.
Just the facts.
Facts. But basically, if you don't know about this series, I think we're going to turn it into a series. We'll see. We'll come round to it after the next triple header and see if it fits into the gap after there. But yeah, as it was the weekend before the British Grand Prix, we thought we'd take a look at obviously the two young British drivers in George Russell and Lando Norris, and yeah, look at their careers so far. So we're going to look at the feeder series of George and kind of what he achieved there, and just to kind of talk of how it's going to go from how it's helped his F1 career to date. Qualifying, we're going to look at and rate how we think, George's qualifying is, his race in kind of how he is within the races, which is going to be a difficult one compared in that kind of that Williams car. It's a little bit a difficult one. And then his mentality and his character before obviously rounding up a little bit of conclusions on George Russell, and then obviously throw it back to you and what you think about George Russell and his career in F1 today. But shall we get into it?
Let's jump into it.
Okay, so just a quick run through of George Russell's achievements in the feeder series. In 2014, George Russell won the BRDC Formula 4 Championship, and he wouldn't win another championship actually until the GP3 series in 2017. But in 2015-2016, he won the Masters of Formula 3. He came second in the Masters of Formula 3 in 2015 and third in the F3 European Championship in 2016. But like I said, in GP3, he won in his rookie year and then promoted to F2 in 2018, where he won as well. And then obviously the rest is history. He then promotes into Williams in 2019.
The rest is history. 1 year.
Yeah, the 1 year history.
The 1 year history.
It's a very kind of detailed history of his, but yeah, his feeder series. I think George, obviously comparing to Lando, yesterday, Lando entered a lot of series and was successful in there, and George less series, but took his time. But when the penny seemed to drop in GP3, in GP3, it dropped.
Yeah.
He
still plenty of trophies in that cabinet.
Yeah, the British F4 title, the GP3 and F2 title, very good ones to have under your belt. And yeah, he just seemed to be like maybe figured it out in that season, coming third in the F3 European Championship, and then was like, I know what I need to do to win now. Bam, bam, straight through there, and then straight within 3 years was in F1, which...
Job done.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we said the feeder series is about. It's not... The guys who stand out are the ones who should be getting the opportunity in Formula 1, and obviously winning back-to-back titles in the feeder series in GP3 and F2 has certainly that type of kind of level that you need to progress. But it is a ladder that you just have to navigate your way through and somehow make your way to the promised land that is F1. But yeah, no, that's that was probably a look at George's feeder. It was
efficient.
And I think
facts. It's efficient.
But that's probably a very good word to sum up George when we come on to his character. But we'll look at qualifying. And do you want to start off with this qualifying?
Yeah, just that record against Kubica. Undefeated. I think you can't compare him with the rest of the field, the Williams, but you can compare him to his teammate, and he beat him in every single race weekend in qualifying. Impressive. Fact.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Robert Kubica wasn't the driver he was, and half the achievement of Robert Kubica coming back in F1 is the fact that he got to F1. And, he proved to people that he could do there, and that Williams car last year was awful and probably not the way that he would have wanted to come back in a comeback. And now he's gone to Alfa Romeo, which looks equally as bad.
Yeah.
So he's like going, oh no. But yeah, fun up for Robert Kubica. But George himself, qualifying was impeccable. And I think his qualifying, he looks like Charles is a very good driver on a Saturday. George Russell, for me, again, is a very good driver on a Saturday. Yeah. We've seen it, in Hungary in 2019, almost getting that Williams into Q2, which would have been an incredible achievement there. I think he was only like 600ths of a second off.
Yeah.
I can't remember from the top of my head. It kind of felt like if he'd just gone like maybe a car or two later with track evolution, he may have been able to kind of get through to it. But it's ifs, buts and maybes. But into this season, in the wet qualifying in the Styrian GP, managed to get himself into Q2 for the first time. And then Williams, both drivers getting into Q2 in Hungary this year. And George out-qualifying a Red Bull on merit and qualifying P12 was fantastic.
Very impressive stuff. This year, they're getting even more out on the Saturday. Yeah.
And he just seems that there's something about George that you just go, it's inevitable that he's going to end up in a top team. It feels like Mercedes, at 2022. I think when his Williams contract ends, that'll be the chance. I know Claire is desperate to kind of keep hold of him. But, he just seems like one of those drivers who's just going to go up and up and up, and they won't be able to keep hold of him unless somehow Williams have created an incredible car in 2022, which wouldn't be beyond the realms of doubt, but it would be one of the most incredible turnarounds in recent F1 history. That would be the type of stuff to rival the Brawn season. I think for me, Williams to go from one of the guys at the back of the grid to winning a world championship from 21 to 22, that would be insane. But I don't think George, if they have any chance, they need to keep hold of George Russell.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's happening. But yeah, qualifying, he just is very, very good. And, although it's like Q2 performances, it seems mental getting excited about Q2.
Yeah. But for that Williams, yeah.
And just how it's developed and come on over the course of a year. Incredibly impressive, I think, on that front. But we'll move on to the race. So, race, Stephen, this is a difficult one.
This is even more difficult than qualifying.
Yeah.
Because the Williams race pace has been nowhere.
Across both seasons.
Yeah. Maybe looking a bit more at this year because it's been slightly more competitive. Although, he had that mistake in Styria where he was fighting. It's difficult.
Austria, he had the engine failure.
Yeah.
Hungary.
He was doing actually very well in that first Austria race, yeah.
Hungary just dropped like a lead balloon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is the hardest one. It's really difficult to compare where he is. So naturally, you have to compare it to his teammate. And I believe he's beaten his teammate in the races that they finished 2-0 and was ahead of Nicholas Latifi in the Austrian GP. And obviously, some things have gone against Latifi as well in that. And I believe it was 17-4 across season, although... with retirements, it would work out a little bit less.
Singapore and Hockenheim.
But Kubica got the point ahead of George Russell. So technically, he lost out to his teammate in the head-to-head on that one. But I think what we have to note is just kind of little points in how he's driving and the feedback that he gives to teams. Just like a There's an air of confidence in that Williams car, and
Yeah.
I think he was racing Vettel, wasn't he, at one point?
In the first Austria race.
Yeah.
Probably. Oh, wait. In the start of the Stereo GP.
Might have been, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, because he overtook Vettel, and then Vettel was coming back.
Yeah.
And that's when...
So he's proven his wheel-to-wheel action. He is pretty good in terms of that front. And I go back to Germany 2019. The strategy that Racing Point and Lance Stroll got praised for, that saw Racing Point get a P4 in that race. Well, George Russell wanted to go on slicks at the same time that Lance did. Whether that would have resulted in points for George Russell that race, and whether he would have been able to control that car and keep it on the track. But I think having that awareness and mentality already is very good for George.
Yeah.
Right. Race ticked off. The mentality of George Russell. How would you best describe it, Stephen?
Mature and efficient. Yeah. You sense he knows a lot. He's not there just for the racing. He's there because I'm trying to think of... Like, he's got... I don't know how to
He's got a drive to win.
Drive to win.
He's not driving to survive. He's driving to win.
New series coming this summer.
Drive to win.
No, it's just like, I feel there's a lot of passion there. And a lot of love for the sport.
Yeah.
Like, no offence, we looked at Lando yesterday, and like, they're like there for the racing. Whereas I feel Russell's
there for everything.
Yeah.
Okay. He's F1 obsessed.
Yeah, I'd say he's the most F1 knowledgeable of those three rookies from last season.
Yeah, definitely. I think that will come into... I think it's Carrie said. I think mentality-wise, there is just this air of confidence about George Russell that he backs his ability and he knows how good he is. And for me, he's, in how clinical and efficient I feel he's going to be. I feel like he's the next Prost-esque, the next, out of anyone, the next Lewis Hamilton-esque driver. He comes across very much in the interviews like Lewis Hamilton. To me, he has that soul-driven, to be obsessant. He had comparisons to Fernando Alonso last year, and I can see a lot of Fernando in George, in terms of he's shown signs of it, especially the behind-the-scenes stuff, that if he's not happy, he will tell you. And he's very driven and knows what he wants to have to kind of succeed in what the team are going to give him.
Yeah.
So I think he has a winning mentality, ultimately.
Yeah.
I think that's ultimate there, and I think that's going to stand him in very good stead in the future to come.
Yeah, I did sense that a bit when Williams announced he announced he was staying with Williams. You felt there was a bit of, I don't really want to stay here, but they're keeping me here, kind of thing. I want to be in a competitive seat. But yeah.
Yeah, I think he's quite happy to say, I've done my bit of developing a car. I now want to go and do the rest of my career.
Yeah.
He was very good PR-wise first year for Williams and kept all of that behind the scenes. And he still is very good for it, and he's still massively helping for the team. But there's still little murmurs of it, and definitely I can see next season he'll be looking forward and talking about that Mercedes seat more.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
In terms of it. Which gets to the character of George Russell, and I just think he's very professional. I would say out of all of the kind of younger guys on the grid, him and Max, definitely, you know the kind of least about. And you get hints of their personality. and they're great guys and stuff. But I think both of them, which is why I think they're probably the best two. Charles is to an extent, but he's opened up a little bit more, obviously, during this COVID break on the Twitch streams and stuff. And I think you get a little bit more from Charles than these two. But I think they're just professional. They turn up at the racetrack, they do their job, they'll have a laugh and joke and stuff like that. But you know, their sole focus is, I want to be, well, Max in Red Bull, I want to be winning a world championship now. George is, I want to be in a Mercedes seat now, type of thing. They'll say everything they need to in front of the camera and be professional, make sure they kind of don't say the wrong things. But there will be, because they're young, they'll be bound to points that George Russell's going to say something, I think, that you go, oh, George. But I think that's what will make him a winner, because I think someone was describing it, maybe it was Martin Brundle, or it might have been Will Buxton, in terms of it, that each champion needs to have that inner bastard. And I think George and Max definitely have it.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything more on his mentality? Character?
Yeah, I think you touched on it. Touched on basically everything there. Like I was saying, in the mentality, it's just that I feel like he has that passion for the sport and that desire to succeed, to achieve. Yeah.
To be successful, I think you've got to be a little bit obsessive over something, and he definitely has that within the motorsport world. And I think, just rounding up on George, for me, he's one that I'm really excited about when we're going to get him into a really top seat. There's just something about him that I go, this guy is, he's not here to muck around. He is not here to just be like, oh, I'm grateful to be in F1. He's like, I'm going to win a world championship.
Yeah.
And I think that drive and passion, and you put him then in the Mercedes seat, he seems the perfect replacement for Lewis Hamilton for me. It literally would just be like churning out a carbon copy. Obviously, they are different people, and you know, Lewis has all the things outside of it. And I think we'll see as George's career blossoms and develops, we'll see more sides of it, because that's what happens with drivers. You get to know them a bit more once they've been in the sport for a while. But right now, George is just literally like, bam, what's the quickest path I can get to, being in a competitive car and winning.
Yeah.
But a great driver, George Russell.
Fact.
And fact. And like Lando, such an exciting one to kind of see where the kind of future holds. But I think, funnily enough, if you compare the two, who would galvanise more of a sensationalised support, I would say Lando will still drive up a bigger support than what George will. But George will, I think I will use that comparison. I think he will have a Fernando-esque sort of thing, or Lewis Hamilton-esque, in terms of how he galvanises the British and Spanish fans respectively on those. That's what I see George's future, and I think he is going to have some very good title fights in the future of the sport. That's for sure. Him and Max. Oh, that could be the next real big rivalry, and there will be punches thrown in that.
Jesus.
Not at each other. They're not going full Nelson Piquet on who was it? Bang! Don't crash into me. But I don't know. Could have like a Michael Schumacher Spa 1998 situation going. I'm gonna get him. But yeah, I think those are the two who really could get tasty. I think Charles will be there and be competitive. Unfortunately, he's in the Ferrari at the moment, which I think it's a flip of the coin whether they'll be amazing or just a stumbling giant again.
Yeah.
That's it from us. We've probably waffled on long enough about George, but yeah, it's always interesting kind of taking a bit of a deeper look at the driver. As always on the channel, we like to take our time
Take
talk
time.
about that. Just going into that little bit more detail, as why not? But yeah, let us know in the comments down below what you think of George Russell, what you think of his career to date, what's been impressive about it, what you think about him for the future to come. Will he have a good British Grand Prix out? Will he be able to get into Q2 again for Williams? I don't think they're going to get any points. That race pace is just off it. But it'd be impressive if they could get 3 in a row, Q2s.
Yeah.
It would be very
both
impressive.
in Q2 again.
Yeah, that would be very impressive.
Yeah.
But if you're new around here, or you haven't done so already, you've been looking at that button and you're confused. Should I do it? What should they do, Stephen?
They should They should subscribe. And they
Yes!
should ding that bell.
They should do it. They should subscribe.
I don't know, subscribe threw me off today.
It was a confusing word, to be fair. I got it. I said they were confused, and then you were like,
I'm
subscribe.
confused as well.
You've now clarified what that word is, and now everyone's going to go, yes, click that button.
Bam.
Bam, it's done. Facts. But we hope you've enjoyed just the facts here about George Russell. Opinions, basically. But yeah, that's it from us, guys. Another kind of chaotic end to a F1 Fanatics video. You know the drill already by now. But for now, you F1 fans, keep racing.